this is the first of, I can't remember if it's 2 or 3 different 5-minute talk sessions. So one of the things that we're going to do with the 5-minute talks, I'll go ahead and list like the first 3 or 4 names, so at least then you know that you're coming next. So to help with the time, if we can ask that the next 5-minute speaker already be up close. If you have any technology issues or desires to use technology, we just want to make very clear up front that any time used to hook up that technology is part of your 5 minutes. So, as someone has mentioned, we do have a document camera here, and so if you've got something on your computer or on an iPad, it might be easier just to present it that way. If you've got any questions, we've got technology people spread out around here. Our first 2 presenters, we are making a little bit of an exception for them. They're going to be using a bit of technology, and they're going to be talking about some programs that are available to us. So our first 4 speakers, we're going to have Stan Yoshinobu, and then we're going to have Ted Mahavier, Brian Katz, Elizabeth Thoren, and Carol Mead. So if you'll just sort of already be close up here in advance, then I will turn it over to Stan.
Great.
And you'll see me at 4 minutes at the front stairs.
Okay. Thank you, Judith. Good morning, everyone. Could I get the slides? Oh, here we go. All right, so I'm really here to tell you about the Academy of Inquiry-Based Learning. So if you're a new IBL user, I just want to tell you that I had 0 IBL classes as a student, 0. So I had no previous connection, but I was able to learn to do this, and it's not. So you've heard a lot now for the past day or so about the benefits of using inquiry-based learning, and then the next question that many of you might have is, well, what do I do next? How do I get this going? And so here's the answer. We have all these programs for you on our website. The website is just there to put all the information. And I'll tell you what the information is. So that's just what our website looks like. It's new. So let me go through. It's for new and experienced IBL math instructors. So, and in particular, we focus especially on new instructors. So we have mentoring. We have a visiting speakers bureau. So if you want someone to come and give a talk at your department, we can help send someone out and to provide some of the travel costs. We also have a small grants program. So cohort 6 is up. Cohort 6 there's a fall deadline, and you can apply for a small grant to teach an IBL course for the first time. That's category 1. And we also have a category 2 for experienced IBL users, and I'll ask the experienced folks to go and check out what we have there. The other thing is to stay connected. So there's a flyer in your packet. It's right here. So it should be in your packet. I'll ask you to take a look at that. It describes the programs in detail. And what I'd like for you to do is to actually go to our website and sign up for a membership. That way you can stay connected. I can send you emails. Members can send emails. We have discussion boards which aren't being used yet because we just got started a few months ago. But there you can start sharing what you're doing in your courses, et cetera. We have resources. We have links to the Journal of Inquiry-Based Learning, et cetera. So all of the questions that you have about where do I get materials, how do I get a mentor, how do I get started, it's all right there. So sign up for a membership. It's free. We manually approve you, so later on in the day we'll approve your account. And so that's it. So let me also thank Mark. So Mark Stankus is over there. So Mark, can you raise your hand? So he's the technical director of AIBL. So if you have questions about AIBL, you can ask him too. So we're here, and there you are. So that's our webpage. And then I think Ted's next. So did I stay less than 5 minutes?
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's pretty good. All right.
So, resources for IBL instruction. I'm here to talk to you only about one today. So I want to talk to you about the Journal of Inquiry-Based Learning in Mathematics. It was started in '96. In '96, I started collecting resources for inquiry-based learning courses because I had taught a course using someone else's notes, and I found the value to be immeasurable, to be able to have someone else's notes and be able to concentrate on teaching my class instead of developing the notes. So the most important thing for a journal, right, is what do you as an author need to know? what do we want? We want problem sets which are thoroughly classroom tested. Thoroughly classroom tested really means more than one iteration. So we want notes that you have taught out of, hopefully many, many times, and can honestly say these are classroom tested, thoroughly classroom tested. We require handing a set of notes to someone, which is very easy to do if you were steeped in the Moore tradition. You just grab a set of notes and run into the classroom and go. And you have as much fun learning the material as the students do. But if you are not steeped in the Moore method tradition and somebody hands you a set of notes, then there's this huge number of pedagogical hurdles to overcome. And so we ask for a very thorough introduction so that a new user that grabs your notes might have a chance of success in the classroom. That means what? It means that you tell the audience the level and the role of this set of notes within the broader curriculum. Your expectations and your grading, how you run your course, any unusual characteristics of your class or classroom. Maybe you have technology. Maybe you have 4 whiteboards in your classroom that students get to use. The new user needs to know what you have available to you when you pull this off. The approximate class sizes. What do we expect? We expect a thorough introduction. We expect that these notes truly adhere to an IBL pedagogy. What does that mean? That means that these are very close to self-contained, that these constitute an entire course, that most likely a bright young undergraduate could pick these up and work through them independently without an instructor in front of them. So they are a set of notes which are self-contained and a set of students could work through independently. We provide a LaTeX template to make your life as easy as possible, and I'm closing on my 5 minutes. And the LaTeX template allows for both a student and instructor version. The copyright remains yours. If you publish with us, then you decide a year from now, I want to put it in a book, I have sold it to the movie rights to Hollywood, then we will take it off the site and hand it back to you, and you can go famous with it. The copyright is the author's. That's unlike any other journal. And we have special authorships for, you took someone else's notes and you modified them, and you wish to publish them. If you took my notes and modified them and you're publishing them, I'm not a co-author because I'm not going to look at them. So the less than authorship simply means that you took them and modified them and you're responsible for the content, but you're giving me credit for the original set of notes. I'm out of my 5 minutes due to technology glitches. We have lots of statistics which you can read until they yank me off the stage.
So while we have a moment or two with the technology changes, just to make sure what our list is, Brian's going next, and then we're going to have Elizabeth Thoren, Carol Mead, Sommer Gentry, and time allowing, the next name would be David Kohler. So I'll just keep giving updates of that, and you're starting now.
All right. Hello, everyone. Ooh, weak. We'll try that again in a second. So I think the purpose of this conference is to start the conversations and make the connections that you need to be sustained. I'm pretty much the only IBL practitioner at my institution, so this is a chance for me to recharge, meet new people, learn new things. And the very first thing you do when you try to make those connections is you say hello. So hello, everyone. Great, or much better. The next step is that you actually talk to them. So I'm really honored to have been allowed to organize the roundtables for this session. They start at 4:10 this afternoon. There are a couple other things running parallel, so I totally understand if there are other things you want to be doing, but it requires a little bit of explanation. There are 2 sessions. There's roundtables A and B. Roundtables A are organized around content, so analysis, topology, things like that. And roundtable B is more around themes, whether it be who your target audience is. Most of the groups that are meeting around specific pre-service teacher groups will be there, but also more advanced topics like creating notes and classroom management. So So they're slightly different. You can come to one and not the other. If you'd like to go to some of the breakout talks, you can mix and match as you desire. So that's my first little thing. My second one is a shout out to Sandra Larson. So last year at the end of this conference, she presented a summary of a massive study, really impressive, massive study, and it has some really interesting results in it that I haven't heard much about recently at this conference. In particular, that it appears that IBL experiences are more powerful for younger students, whereas sometimes when people hear about IBL, they think, oh, only older students can handle that. So this is literature that helps us with that. And previously underperforming students. But the thing that I actually find most impressive about her, the write-up that's on the, I think it's I forget the name of the website, but if you Google Sandra Larson at UC Boulder, you'll find her, is an observation about the way that we at this conference communicate with each other. We have a tendency to talk in excruciating detail about little things that we're doing, and she realized during this work why we're doing that. What we're doing is we're telling the solution to a complicated problem. Right? So for most of us, we want the students to be doing the good stuff in their classes. And so we build these elaborate structures that lead them to spend their time doing the good stuff. And I think if we learn the lesson from her observation of talking about what we do in the language of solving a particular problem, what we say will make a lot more sense to other people. So that would excite me. Really brief self-serving. I have a new book with Mike Starbird. There's a copy out there on the new books table, so I hope you will all check that out. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Thoren. I realized I said I need no technology, but I wanted to share my email address for reasons you'll understand in a minute. So is there a way to get it on the document camera? Just put it here. Okay. I wrote it really big. Okay, but I'll tell you why I'm here. I have two requests of everyone. And my first request is, first I'll let you know that I'm helping to organize the MAA prep workshop at UCSB next week. So we're going to have a bunch of new users, and we're going to try to help them learn how to implement IBL in their classes. So a lot of these people will be doing it for the first time. And actually, Brian's snippet about these complicated structures is what I want to ask of you. We're going to spend a short amount of time talking about, maybe an hour, talking about assessment and feedback. And what that really means is all of these things that you do in your class to make it run, to get the students to do what you want them to do. And it gets really technical and complicated. So my goal is to sort of collect 3 or 5 representative structures and share that with these new users so they'll have something to start from. And so what I'm asking of you guys is if you will email me your structures and hopefully tell me the problem that you're trying to solve at the same time. And that will help me sort of organize that information and make it more digestible to a new user. And so I'm thinking about questions like, who presents problems? How do you make that decision? You know, what kind of feedback do you give those presenters? Are they getting a score? Are they getting summative feedback? You know, how do you facilitate peer review on written work? Because a lot of people can make that happen. So any sort of structures you've got that solve any of these sort of assessment, feedback, carrot in front of the student to keep the student doing good things, problems, just let me know. And also, my second request of you is that I teach at UCSB and we have really big lectures and little discussion sections that don't meet for long enough time, in my opinion. And I am trying to implement something like IBL in those discussion sections that meet maybe once a week with a TA who's not trained to teach this way. And so, I'm sorry, my email address is wrong. Thank you. I was so excited about writing it big. But anyways, yeah, so I want to figure out good ways to incorporate IBL in my discussion sections. And so the things I'm trying to tackle are how to train TAs to do this in a very short amount of time, how to sort of maximize this fostering student community and interaction with peers and instructors with minimum amount of time and resources. If anybody's got ideas for problem resources or funding resources, just come talk to me. But if you've got really complicated assessment structures, you can email me. Thank you.
So just real quickly while Carol comes up, there have been some questions about who's on the list, so just in the attempt for time, I keep reminding y'all who comes next. So we're at Carol Mead, Sommer Gentry, David Kohler, Tim Whittemore, Tatiana Shubin, Travis Mobes, and Greg Foley are all that's on my list. But of course, we will have to stop when we reach the end of this session. So after Carol, we'll have Sommer and David.
Good morning. I'm Carol Mead, the archivist for the Archives of American Mathematics, which is at UT. And I'm not going to tell you anything about IBL. The archives is in existence because of the EAF, because of their generosity. But in any case, I wanted to give you a report of some of our projects since the last time I reported a couple of years ago. Thanks to several generous monetary gifts, we've been busy working on projects that we think will make more of our resources widely available to researchers online. The MAA, whose records we hold, has given us funding to carry out two important digital projects. This spring, the MAA's History of Mathematics Special Interest Group, the Ham Sigma, gave us funding to digitize the Max Biberman film collection, which consists of 47 reels of 16mm films in a series entitled Teaching High School Mathematics. The series was made in the 1960s by the University of Illinois Committee on School Mathematics, and Biberman taught mathematics at the University of Illinois and was well known in the new math movement. Once we finish digitizing these films, which we're doing right now, we'll make them available online for viewing. The Ham Sigma also gave us funding to digitize 350 of the 10,000 or so photos that of mathematicians from the Paul Halmos photo collection, and they are currently putting them on their Convergence website along with brief bios each week. So this was a pilot project to make the math community aware of the collection. Finally, Paul Halmos' widow, Virginia Halmos, gave us a very generous gift to digitize the entire photo collection, Halmos collection, as well as 16 films of Halmos delivering lectures during a 2-week visit to Australia in 1975. We just think that the result of these digital projects will be to give a glimpse into some of the treasures of the archives collections. And I've been asked numerous times if everything from our collections is online, which at the moment is no, not at all. But I believe that these efforts are going to, that we're carrying out now, are going to be a step in that direction. And I should also mention that in an effort to raise awareness about the archives, I've been manning a booth at the joint math meetings over the last couple of years, and I will be there for the foreseeable future. So if you ever want to stop by and see some of the materials that we have, I will be there. There's also a little exhibit in the Oaks room, and my card and a brochure. Thank you.
Last night, Jonathan Hodge said that he likes to avoid labeling answers as right or wrong. And I want to suggest that we should actually try to ask more questions that don't have a right answer, in the sense that we actually don't know when we ask the question even what a successful response is necessarily going to look like. So I like to ask these kinds of questions in my classes. For instance, what are some differences between a point and a vector, or between points and vectors? And when I ask questions like this, I get really interesting responses. I get a range of things that allow the students to put their own stamp on it. You know, you get the typical things like a vector has a length and points don't. If you have 2 points, you can make a vector. But I found some really, really nice things that even I wouldn't have thought of. One of my students said, well, it takes 3 points to describe a triangle, but it only takes 2 vectors to specify a triangle. Or someone said, just a point is where you are and a vector is where you're going, which maybe I hadn't put in those words before. I'll ask a question like, describe a real-world context in which you would want to know the sum or the dot product of 2 vectors. Or I'll have the students write your own free fall question after they've done, many of these sort of repetitive types of questions where they have to calculate free fall. And it's a completely different animal when you ask them to create the question. And I would also say that when you're asking these kinds of open-ended, there's no right answer questions, students always only think that something's important if it's on the test. So you have to ask questions like these on their tests. Not only on their tests, you have to ask them before their tests so they have a chance to practice. But I've asked a question on a test, and I want to give you some examples of this. So I asked a question: the manager of a Royal Farms gas station and convenience store is considering raising the prices of either gasoline or the items in the convenience store or both, and the manager doesn't know an explicit formula for his profit as a function of the price of gasoline and the price of his store items, but you would like to provide consulting services to estimate the gradient of that profit function. Write a note to the manager by explaining how knowing the gradient would help him or her. And I want to encourage us, we were talking yesterday about being brave. You should be brave when you ask these open-ended questions on exams. Grading them is not as hard as you think it will be. It's really quite clear when you look at the responses to questions like these how they should be scored. And so we shouldn't worry that, I won't be able to justify it matches or it doesn't match my previously intended response. So I got responses like one that said, by knowing the gradient, the manager will be able to figure out the quickest way to maximize his prices. I also got another answer that said, in part, the gradient will therefore be the new prices that the store should set. So I think we know how we would respond to these in a points giving or not giving situation, but you can see if you know the gradient of P, you can see which items you make more money on, gas items or store items. Someone else said, if you found the gradient, that'll tell the owner exactly how much to change the gasoline prices or the store prices to increase his profit the fastest. So I think that's getting closer to the kinds of answers that I was hoping for, maybe. But someone else said, and I didn't even really expect this, but he said, if you know the gradient, you can actually calculate how much your profit will change if you change the prices in any direction. So, and he wrote down the formula gradient P dot the change in the prices that you're going to apply. So you really will get answers that you can assign grades to in a meaningful way. And the other thing is these problems are just fun. You get fun answers that allow the students to put their own stamp of what they're interested in on the problem. So for example, someone said you need to add vectors so you can figure out the tension on a tightrope so the performers in a circus will be safe. And someone else said you need the dot product to find the ground speed of an airplane that's not flying parallel to the ground. And someone else wrote this solution that I put up in front of the class. This was a really funny story of something that happened. I put up an answer that said you would want to add vectors, for instance, if you're kayaking, and you would add the vector of how fast you're paddling to the current of the river to find out where you would end up, where the kayak is going to end up on the other side of the river. And someone else with exactly the same prompt had written on his card, sailing. And I put those two responses up kind of next to each other, and for the whole rest of the semester, anytime a student gave an answer in class that was missing a whole lot of detail or they were kind of fishing for me to fill stuff in, the other students in the class would yell, sailing! So I encourage you to use more open-ended questions. Thanks.
I'm estimating that we probably have time for David and then Tim, but let's see what happens.
Hi, so my name is David Kohler. I'm a PhD student at UBC up north in Canada. And in the spirit of what Brian was sharing, I'm here to say hi and meet people, and so share what I'm up to and see if from there some discussions are going to happen. And in the spirit of Sommer, I'm going to ask open-ended questions because I really don't know what the answer should look like. So what I'm interested in is TA training. We have a bunch of grad students up at UBC who teach sections of courses, of calculus courses usually. And so we're interested in training them to be as effective as possible. We already have some stuff going on. We have a 2-day TA training, and then they can take a course to get the basics about teaching. We also have a little 3-day workshop. It's the instructional skills workshop, for those who know it. It's a workshop that gets them started thinking about teaching and getting feedback. And what I'm working on now is the next level of TA training for us, which is to create a one-term course, 12 hours of work a week, so fairly intensive, for second or third year grad students. And what we're really trying to look at in that new course is how to promote reflective practice. And I'll define reflective practice as the activity of getting feedback about something you did in your teaching, reflecting about what that created and how that matches the goals that you have, and then creating a new idea of new experimentation and going at it, and then keep cycling. And for that, what I'm interested in, and that's also why I'm attending this conference for the first time, is how do we make that in a way that empowers TAs to do that on their own? How do we create instructors that really think on their own about teaching? How do we train these TAs to really do that on their own? And so to me, that's what I hear when I hear inquiry in the IBL acronym. So what can I say? I'll describe a little bit the program, and then I'll ask you 2 questions. So the way the program is designed to sort of create that inquiry is we tell a group of grad students that they will create their own seminar. The content will be whatever they are interested in education. Our goal is to promote research-based education, but whatever they are interested in. So they will create their own seminar. And because we want to really have them do experimentation, the seminar is going to be both in class and online. And so we started off by 4 weeks of preparation where they're going to start thinking about what it is that they want to talk about, and we give them skills in using online technologies, wikis, podcasts, videos, blogs, everything that we can think about. And then during 6 weeks, they run their own seminar, they create their own feedback, they do everything. Now, what I'm interested in is a few things. First, how do I assess that at the end of this program, something happened? Even more, for those who are more inclined in the research end of education, how do I create can I measure anything? Is there any smart way for me to set up something that will tell me if my program does anything? And I'm really open to any crazy idea you have. If I want to convince anyone that this program really does something to TAs, what can I build? And then the other set of questions I have is, what I've been hiding so far is that this course is not going to be taught. There's no instructor. My goal is to design a course that has coaches. I don't even want really an instructor to do anything. I want to create a design where 2 other TAs who are more experienced or who've been trained in some way can just coach these people into accomplishing all that. And so I've designed questions about how do I do sort of an IBL environment without even really an instructor, but just with a solid design and coaches. So that's what I'm thinking about. I'll be around, and if you have anything to suggest, I'll be more than happy to talk to you. Thank you.
So, yes, can you hear me? Oh, right. So every so often things line up very nicely, and David is working with teaching assistants and their experiences. I'm interested in the next level up, so instructors and their experiences, the full faculty, so that timing worked out pretty nicely. My name's Tim Whittemore. I'm a grad student at the School of Education at the University of Michigan. I've been working with my advisor, Vilma Mesa, and a group of IBL instructors for the past year, trying to figure out what the experience is when you teach with IBL methods. We've been using online teacher surveys, and I gave a talk yesterday, so if you missed it, I'm sorry, you have to come back next year. But trying to understand this experience and to produce, the goal is to produce accounts of instructors who are learning to teach with this method and what support we can provide them to help them in this endeavor. I was here last year and I recruited that sample. The goal of this 5-minute talk, which is actually going to be about a 2-minute talk, is to recruit or expand that sample for next year. So if you're interested in what we're doing, or know someone who's interested in what we're doing, or know someone who should be interested in what we're doing, I have pink information sheets. I have peach, maybe a peach recruitment form. And so you can come and find me and get some more information that way. That's about that. 2 minutes.
And that works out really nicely because we have exactly 5 minutes left in this time slot. So I know that puts a lot of pressure on Tatiana, but she can do it. So, and then the rest of the names will go over to the session this afternoon.
Hi, my name is Tatiana Shubin, and I am at San Jose State University. And I'd like to suggest one more type of interactions and IBL courses, and it's something that nobody ever mentioned. It's competition. You can induce your students to better participation through competition, but this is not an old type of competition. It's a very new type of competition, which is called Math Wrangle. And MAA, through American math competitions, actually tries to promote it nationwide. What makes it so attractive is that it combines all sorts of things in it. It combines theatrical performance, team sports, strategical game, and of course, lots of mathematics. So the way it works is the following. There are two teams of students, teachers, whoever you want to play with. And each team is a 3-person team, and you give to each team a set of problems. And the idea is that the problems should be difficult enough and numerous enough so that students are not expected to solve all these problems in the time allocated. That makes it more interesting if this is the case. So usually, if there are three person on a team, we try to give them 8 problems. And we give them an hour to solve these problems. So they can work individually, they can work as a team, and then they also have to design at the end, they have to design their strategy, how they are going to play the game. And when the time comes to actually play the game, they come to the place where there are spectators and the jury. And then each team will challenge the opposite team to present a certain problem from a list. And when a team is being challenged, they have a choice. Then they can either accept the challenge or they can bounce it back. And if it is bounced back, the number of points goes up for the problem. But if it's bounced, that team who originally challenged cannot challenge it again. It cannot bounce it again. So there is some kind of strategy going on. If you don't want to challenge the opposite team with the hardest problem if you don't know how to solve it yourselves, then whichever team accepts the challenge has to send one person to present a solution. And that person who presents a solution has exactly 5 minutes for everything. It includes if they need to draw some diagram, if it is a geometric problem, or if they need to write up something on the board. Everything is in these 5 minutes count. And they also have to orally explain their solution. And the opposite team has to actually pay very close attention to the presentation, because after this presentation is done, the opposite team can send one person to rebut the solution. And they cannot, according to the rules, they cannot simply say, well, that solution is not interesting, we have a better solution. They cannot do that. They have to really criticize the presented solution. And they have 3 minutes for doing that. And then when it is done, the jury has a right to ask questions if they have any questions. And then at the end, the jury has to, needs to split the amount of points available 3 ways. If the jury is not really satisfied, they can withdraw some points for themselves. And so it goes until each person on every team has presented and also did rebuttal. So every person needs to have a time to present and to criticize. So that's a great kind of competition because you can really gear it to whatever level. I've done it with middle school children. I've done it with high school children. I heard from people who done it with teachers, and I heard from people who at least are trying to do it for elementary school kids. And you can not only gear it to any age level. Oh, one more thing. I did it in my proofs class last semester. I did an IBL proofs class, and I did it a couple of times with that class, and they loved it. They absolutely loved the diversion and the challenge and the game that they played. So you can do it everywhere. And MAA is actually trying, as I said already, trying to promote it nationwide. We do present Math Triangle at every national meeting, at joint meetings and at Math Fests as well. So we are going to show it in Madison. Welcome to see it. And also one more thing, you can find the rules. Can you see it? You can find the rules and sample of problems that we used in the past at Sigma. This is a special interest group of MAA, MCST. Thank you.